I once knew a lady a long time ago. She used to do terrible things for me in my past life. The most terrible of all was the running of the ovens. She took immense joy in what she did. Her name was Helga von Felder, and her eyes would light up at the sight of all the crowds people spilled before her. She would nickname all her personal favorites: Snickerdoodle, Oatmeal Raisin, her little chocolate chip. Ooh, even I quiver at the thought of her zeal. Before my unfortunate demise and my glorious rebirth as Mr. Gay Hitler, I had heard Helga had fled capture by the Americans and made it to the shores of Ellis Island, where she gave her occupation as baker, which was her long-running sick joke, and adopted her American name, Mrs. Fields. Overhearing her occupation as baker, an officer charged with guarding the employees asked if she needed work, as his father ran a failing bakery in need of new life and ideas. The newly minted Mrs. Fields jumped at the offer, excitedly, even though inside she quietly screamed with the fear of being found a fraud. But she squashed those fears because she was still Frau Felder and she knew her way around the ovens. Later I learned that the damnable history of Frau Felder, née Fields, after seeing this very store at the Alamo-Wana Mall. The officer's father was the first of her new life's victims, dispatching him with quiet abandon one evening over a dispute about cinnamon. This reignited her passion, and under the guise of new location openings and corporate greed, Mrs. Fields disposed of her competition and her naysayers efficiently and without a trace. The only hint of what she was doing was the fact that every so often a new cookie would be added to the menu in honor of her latest victim. Huh. It could be interesting, but probably not. So we also went to Mrs. Fields Cookies. Haven't been there in a really long time, since probably the 90s at the mall, getting an Orange Julius and a Mrs. Fields cookie. Isn't a fan of the Orange Julius, though, really. But let's see how they're still good. We got a little milk chocolate chip. It's like...
Who told you can eat my cookies?
And a little crunch too, right? But mostly chewy. So yeah, let's see how delicious this guy is. I mean, it's like Nestlé to our house, you know.
Grandmother, Nestlé to the house.
You know, the Buffet's grandma. Probably the same person, and but they're good. I mean, it's a good, solid chocolate chip cookie. You know, like you can't go wrong with a dozen of these. You know, but the real find, sorry, chewing. Yeah. Is they have something called El Mega Cookie. Yeah, that thing's, it's pretty big. The lady at the counter said, well, lady, she was a preteen, if anything, or small teen, whatever. So this is like 3 normal cookies smushed together, and then they bake them. So, it's got like decent crust. Hopefully it's like super chewy inside. We'll see. Oh yeah, you can tell that it's like half baked status in the middle, which is always solid. It's good, but it tastes different than just a regular sized cookie. I don't know if that's just the quantity or that the baking, but it's good, but it's not as good. But I mean, Mrs. Fields Cookies, you go down there.